Hello, my dear friend. My name is Kemi, and I've got great news to share with you. Yes, news you can use. It's about how I got rid of my fibroid naturally without surgery. For several years, I was battling with painful and heavy menstruation. I took several medications to relieve the situation, but to no avail. About 3 years ago, I passed out at work and was rushed to the hospital. At that time, I was on my monthly period and had very heavy bleeding as usual. My periods were very heavy for the first 3 to 4 days, and I would have to wear both pads and tampons at the same time. The bleeding was so bad I had to change both of them every 2 hours. I usually stay at home on the first 3 days of my period, but on this particular day, I needed to be at the office to sign some very important document. About 30 minutes before closing of the day, I fainted. My co-workers rushed me to the hospital. While there, the doctor told me that since I lost a lot of blood, he wanted to give me blood transfusion, but I declined. I thought I didn't need it since I wasn't dying. I was just anemic from having heavy menstrual periods. The doctor was not pleased with my decision, but he didn't force the issue. I was sent home that night with some drugs. Later, it was discovered that the reason my periods were so heavy at that time was because of 3 fibroids I had in my uterus. The fibroids were discovered back then in 2012. One was growing inside my uterus and the other 2 were inside the walls of my uterus. The largest fibroid was the size of a grapefruit. In 2013, I had a surgery to remove them. Afterwards, I felt relieved to have gotten rid of this problem, but my happiness was short-lived. To my shocking disbelief, 2 years later, the fibroids came back, even bigger. My doctor wanted to schedule another surgery, but I was very skeptical that it would work. If the first surgery didn't work, why should I go under the knife for a second time? So, I just decided to endure the pain and heavy bleeding. But it wasn't easy. I was really desperate to get rid of the fibroids, but not through surgery. Sadly, at that time, I never knew any alternative to surgery. Sometime later, I learned about natural ways to get rid of fibroids without surgery. I came across several advertisements of all kinds of treatments to shrink fibroids. I was really excited about the possibility of getting rid of my fibroid without surgery. However, I was a bit skeptical, but at the same time very desperate to get rid of my fibroids once and for all. So I tried one in particular, but it didn't work. I was still having heavy and painful bleeding with lots of clots. Then I noticed that the soreness in my breast was gone. I was curious, so I went for a scan. Sadly, I was told that the fibroids were still there. I was disappointed. Howbeit by this time, I had somewhat come to believe that getting rid of fibroid without surgery was actually possible. I was hooked now. So I tried another, but that one too didn't work. Then another, and another, but it just didn't work. The more disappointed I was with a particular product, the more I wanted to try another. Eventually, I got fed up with the empty promises with those fake products. I really felt so discouraged. I had no choice but to schedule an appointment with my doctor to discuss other possibilities of removing the fibroids. About 2 months later, while surfing the internet, I saw a post on Facebook talking about a program on how to get rid of fibroid naturally without surgery. Oh dear, not again. After having used several products that just didn't work, I was skeptical about this one. I didn't even bother to follow the link in the post to read more. 2 days later, as I sat alone in my living room, feeling hopeless about my fibroid problem. I felt like I should take another look at that post on fibroid I saw on Facebook earlier. Thank God, I was still able to access it. I learned more about the product and even read several testimonials of some women who successfully got rid of their fibroids with this product without surgery. Well, I was still somewhat skeptical. It wasn't my fault. Once bitten, they say, twice shy. And in my case, I was triple shy, having used several products that just didn't work. However, I reluctantly decided to give this natural product a try. On September 17, 2016, I began the fibroid shrinking program. To my surprise, it worked. After being on the fibroid shrinking program for about 10 weeks, I noticed that my periods were no longer heavy as before. Usually, my periods would last 8 days, with 3 to 4 days being very heavy. I would also spot a lot in between my periods. But after being on the fibroid shrinking program, the spotting stopped. Overall, I had 2 days of heavy bleeding instead of the usual 3 to 4 days. My menstruation lasted for only 5 days instead of the usual 8 days. It was amazing. Like I said earlier, I had 3 fibroids. One was growing inside my uterus and the other 2 were inside the walls of my uterus. The largest fibroid was the size of a grapefruit. When I got the result from the scan I went for, the results showed that I only had 1 fibroid inside, the one inside my uterus, and it was the size of a small apple. So, 2 fibroids completely dissolved away, and the largest one, which used to be the size of a grapefruit, was now the size of a small apple. Since I wasn't having any more problem with my periods and 2 out of the 3 fibroids were gone, I had every reason to continue the program. 2 months later, I went for another scan, and to my surprise and that of my doctor, the last fibroid was gone. My doctor checked the results over and over just to make sure she was reading it correctly. She couldn't believe that all my fibroids were gone without surgery. The result was really amazing. My uterus was back to its normal size. My periods are now 3 days long. Still very surprised. My doctor asked me what I did to make the fibroids disappear, and I told her I did what I should have done back then in 2013. There are not enough words to explain how happy I am right now. I wish I knew about this program when I first had fibroids. Well, as the saying goes, things happen for a reason. I am so thrilled with my unique fibroid cure experience, and I'm so excited to share this wonderful experience with you and other women who may be enduring fibroid and its attendant problems. Once again, here are the benefits of this amazing fibroid shrinking program. Total shrinking of fibroids without surgery. Restoration of the normal size of your uterus. Elimination of painful menstruation. Reduction of abnormally long menstrual period days. Reduction of abnormally heavy bleeding. Yes, you too can experience the profound transformation that this fibroid treatment program offers. You can also recommend it to any one of your acquaintances who may be having fibroid, and they will surely